Anny the Psycho by Rant Cat. Anny and her family moved away from their old home after an old neighbor found out about the abuse in their household. Anny's parents abused her by punching, slapping, burning, and kicking. They basically treated her as dirt. When Anny and her parents were unpacking, they heard a knock on the door. Her mom hurried to the door. Anny continued unpacking until she heard her name being called. "Anny, come here!" Her mom's voice rang through the house. Anny ran as fast as she could to the front door. She saw her mom talking to a couple. The woman was holding something, a baby. "Hello, are you Anny?" the woman asked. Yeah, Anny stuttered. "Nice to meet you. I'm Rose, and this is my Mike. And last, that's Joe, my husband." She gestured to the baby, then her husband. Anny's response was silence. She was jealous of Mike and his perfect family. Anny was not only jealous. She got this urge to eliminate Mike. She ignored it and left without a word. The next day, Anny woke up to her mom screaming, "Anny, get your butt down here now!" She ran down the stairs as fast as possible. She ended up in the living room with her angry mom. "Your behavior yesterday was unacceptable," her mom shouted. Without another word, her mom slapped her across the face. "Next time you won't get off that easy. Now go get ready for school," her mom shouted. At school, Anny felt safe. Her parents couldn't get her, no one said anything to her or told her to do something. She felt invincible, but that didn't last long. Before she knew it, she was surrounded by a group of kids, and in front of her was what everyone would all call the bad boy. Well. Does someone feel safe at school? He looked about 15, 1 year older than Anny. Anny stayed quiet. "Well, I guess I should change that. After all, I have no problem with hitting a girl." Without any hesitation, he punched her cheek. Anny got the urge again, but this time it was more. It was a need to hurt someone. Without any warning, Anny punched his nose, causing a satisfying cracking noise. She couldn't stop herself from punching him again and again and again. When she finally stopped, he was unconscious. "You just beat up Kyle!" someone shouted from the crowd. Her knuckles were bloody from punching him so many times. Anny ran home as fast as she could. She didn't want to get caught, knowing if she did get caught, her parents would beat her. The next couple of days went by fast. Before she knew it, she was at a park in the middle of town. She was sitting on the swing minding her own business when a pillowcase, went over her head. She heard kids snickering and making jokes. She kicked and hit, but nothing seemed to work. Eventually, they pushed her into some type of chair. "Kyle, you're so lucky your dad is a dentist," someone said. Anny froze. It was Kyle. The pillowcase was removed from her head, and she saw Kyle and 3 other boys. "Can't do this when she's awake," Kyle said. He then punched her head, causing her to black out. When Anny woke up, she was at the park again. She considered it maybe being a dream, but then she decided that it wasn't. It seemed too real. She ran home as fast as she could. When she opened the door to her house, she saw angry parents. Her dad grabbed her by the hair and threw her to the ground. They kicked and punched her over and over again. "You shouldn't have stayed out late," her dad said. She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she didn't protest. Instead, she welcomed the darkness of passing out. And she eventually did. The next day, she ran to the bathroom and looked at her teeth. They were sharp, like a shark's. All of them. Not one tooth was dull. Surprisingly, she was not disappointed or afraid that people would call her freak. She was happy. She left like a man all the way to school. She loved her new look. When she got to school, she was searching for Kyle, like a wild animal hunting her prey. When she found him, she pounced. She started punching him over and over and over. Without even knowing she was going to, she bit his neck. Like the animal she now was, she finished him off. He was dead. Before she did anything else, a policeman tased her and she fell off of the boy. One of the kids watching called 911. Sadly, they didn't arrive in time to save Kyle. The policeman put her in handcuffs and sat her in the principal's office. After about 30 minutes, her mom and dad came rushing in. "May I speak with you two in private, please?" the officer said. After another 30 minutes, the officer agreed to let her go, but only for a week. Then she would have to go to court. When they all reached their home, Annie's parents told her to stay in her room unless she wanted to get beat up. And Annie did so. They all went to bed. Her dad woke up to the sound of sinister laughing, like a madman's. It was coming from Annie's room. He walked to her room and threw open the door. What he saw shocked him. Annie's fingers were cut down to the bone and sharp like a knife. In her right hand was a pencil sharpener. She sharpened her fingers, and her eyes were black, pupil only. They weren't lying when they said eyes are the window to the soul. Annie's dad looked shocked and clearly scared. "What's the matter? I'm only the animal you treated me like," Annie said. Before her dad could scream for help, she sprinted at him and used her claw-like fingers to stab his neck. She then walked to her parents' room. She quietly walked in and stared at her mother. She seemed so peaceful. Her mom opened her eyes and stared into Annie's. Annie covered her mom's mouth before she could say or scream anything. Her mom thrashed and tried to yell, but it was no use. "Shh, shh, shh. Calm down. It's only time to die," Annie said.